often narcissists end up in relationships with anxious or preoccupied or
Love that for me.
Yeah, insecure attachment styles.
This was recorded at the Media Joint.
That is so rude.
Boy, that's a bit rogue.
Is it even that rude?
Welcome back to another episode of A Bit Rogue. Today we're in the studio with me, myself, and it's a solo ep. Obviously, Pip and Jock are here, and we actually are having a cameo from Dr. Wesley Tan to help with one of the segments. But for now, if you'd like to hear some life updates, what's been going on? I've been undumped. Me and the Bay going to CMC Rocks next year. Already told Jock about it. Already been rinsed about it. We're not really back on. We're just friends.
Bullshit.
Well,
It is so stupid.
I went over to his house the other day to have a little sticky beak at his new place, and we just had dinner, and that was it. It was nice.
Bad. I know he's going to be listening to this, but who cares?
I don't think he's a listener, genuinely. We had two events. We went to the Two Doting Dads live show at the Apple store in the city. That was pretty nice.
That was good.
Yeah.
The boys did a good job.
Boys did a good job. I tried to take Jock out after, but he wrapped it at 8 o'clock. Maybe 8:45. Anyway. And then
you wanted to go.
Yeah, I was sleepy. But I was...
Don't throw me under the bus.
Well, if you said, yeah, let's go, I would have been like, okay, sweet. But you said, I've got to go home.
Yeah. School night.
No, what did you say? I've got to go spend time with Kel.
Yeah, because she was about to be away for a month and I wanted to see my fiance.
That's nice. I do appreciate that. So you get off on that one. And then last week we had Mitch Churi's launch for his new podcast, The Mitch Churi Chat Show, which was super fun. We got a little bit litty. Yeah.
Should also go and listen to the episode, and his show is officially out now, so go and give it a listen.
It's out now with Acast. Acast followed me. Hello, Acast. I'm an independent podcaster, just by the way. Free agent. That was lots of fun. Saw Richard Reed. He looked like Keith Urban. Did you not think that?
Yeah, he's a mad dog.
Someone actually commented on his post being like, he's having a midlife crisis. He's actually past midlife, so I actually think that's a compliment.
What's midlife crisis about?
Midlife is like 50.
No, I know. I understand that.
Oh, how he was dressed and how he had a moustache. It was like I think it was Daily Mail wrote it.
Nah.
I actually got my first Daily Mail write-up, guys, last week. Very proud of myself. That's official. Like Daily Mail. Sorry, not Daily Mail. What did I get? Daily Telegraph.
Yeah, you've been in the Daily Mail.
Daily Telegraph. That's legit.
They're both about as credible as each other.
Daily Telegraph?
Both of them.
I thought the Daily Telegraph was print.
Yeah, I said they're both as credible.
Well, I don't think Daily Mail is credible.
That's my point. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. But my night went a bit twisted. I said bye to Jock and met up with a client because they were like, you need to relax a bit more. And mind you, I've worked with this client for like 6 years. And it's always been a very professional environment. And then they asked me if I wanted a fucking nang. Like a balloon nang.
No.
That's not right. I felt like my principal or my superior was like pranking me, you know?
But also just the two of you, again, it was technically a school night.
Yeah. A nang.
And kind of like read the room, like it was under the guise of work drinks that you went and yeah.
It wasn't work.
I don't know many work drinks that
Have a nang.
And maybe like,
you know,
maybe somebody does that at the Christmas party or something, like when things get proper loose. But middle of the week, just the two of you.
A nang. Would you like a nang? No, thank you. Actually, who else was at Mitch Churi's event that I thought was great, Val? We met Mitch Coombs. We should get him in here.
We should.
All right, moving on. Crash out of the week. I mean, I feel like there has been so many different crash outs online. Like, to be honest, my whole feed at the moment is like the death of Charlie Kirk, and I actually don't even want to speak on it because I feel like it's a very sensitive topic, very sad. Any death is very sad, but I'm just going to leave it at that. So we have no crash outs, okay? However, in lighter news, it's been 25 years since the 2000 Olympics, Sydney Olympics. Do you know what that means?
I don't know.
One, 25 years since we've seen Michael Kim in some tight togs, but also 25 years since Nikki Webster performed Strawberry Kisses live to the world.
Was it Strawberry Kisses?
Or maybe she sang the anthem?
The only reason I rebutted was because this was a question that came up on a radio show somewhere that I was listening to, listening to, clearly, because I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
But it wasn't Strawberry Kisses.
It was the anthem.
No, it was something Aussie related.
Yeah,
More
right.
Aussie than Strawberry
I still call
Kisses.
Australia home or some shit, yeah. Probably. Anyway, we'll Google it later. It's not really a celeb crash out, but the fans, they just can't handle seeing Nikki 25 years later. Someone goes, I can't figure out if she looks 13 still or really aged. And then someone else said, like, what happened to her? Oh, she just went in time 25 years. That's what's happened. And then someone else was saying that, wow, if everyone really knew what Strawberry Kisses meant. For starters, in 2000, Strawberry Kisses was when you had your fucking lip smack on, smelt and tasted like strawberries. End of. Don't make it weird. Someone commented, yeah, Strawberry Kisses is when you kiss someone's asshole.
What?
A little strawberry.
I don't know about that.
It's not that. She was a small child. I was 6 years old. She was 12. About that. She's 38 now. Do the math. Kind of makes sense. Maybe 13.
But a bit icky from that person.
Bit icky from that, but like if you're making kids stuff weird, that's on you. You're weird. Now we are on to our next segment, Rule of the Week. Now, in the past couple of weeks, I've received a couple of cease and desists, you know, and as you receive
Cease
one...
and desist.
Well, no one's dead yet.
It's cease and desist.
Cease and desist. Anyway, you get an attachment with your little cease and desist of what you're being seized and desists of, yeah? And someone's face unfortunately popped up on there, and I'm a little rat. I went and told them straight away. I said, excuse me, your face is on this. What do you want to do about it? And Dr. Wesley Tan said to me, well, let's talk about it on the show. So
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you so
Doc.
much.
You are a psychology researcher and therapist,
Yes, definitely.
and you are here to talk to me about narcissism, narcissists, and NPD.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, also just to clarify, it's not really rule of the week. This is like philosophy of the week, learnings of the week. Like we're in
Lessons
class
of the
right
week.
now. This is class.
Well, I did used to teach at a university, so
Well, there you go. So
can
I
go to
think
school.
a lot of people don't know what NPD is. So what is NPD?
well, there's two broad frameworks when it comes to narcissism, and I think it's one of the most important things to clarify because people use this term all around. Like everyone's like, oh, they're just a narc, they're this or they're that, right? There's two frameworks that you can reference when we talk about narcissism. The first is an actual personality disorder, right? Narcissistic personality disorder. It's described in the diagnostic manual that we learn as clinicians. And it is a mental health disorder in the same category as depression, anxiety, dissociative identity disorder. It is a similar form of categorization in the medicalized model of psychological care. Personally, from my experience, I don't believe that narcissism should be characterized as a disorder.
Okay.
When you have, for example, anxiety or depression, you as the person who's afflicted with those symptomology, suffer the consequences of it.
Mm-hmm.
The difference when it comes to a narcissistic personality disorder is it's actually the people around and about you who are suffering from it, less so yourself. And so that's why I and a lot of the theorists in the field of narcissism research kind of look at narcissism more as a trait or as a dimension that you can vary on from, in the same way that we would vary on a scale of introversion to extroversion. We can also vary on a scale of like narcissism.
Yeah.
Within that field, from a trait perspective, there are two broad categories of narcissism, which are also kind of a dimension. So there's a difference between what we call overt or grandiose narcissism and then what we call covert or vulnerable narcissism.
Okay.
So overt narcissists are the ones that we typically see. They are grandiose, they require praise and adulation, they are very entitled. They believe that they are more special than everyone else, right? But then we also have another side of narcissism, which is covert narcissism, which is more vulnerable. It requires a lot of reassurance. They can be very hypersensitive. So that's the kind of also other dimension that narcissism can vary on.
Can you have both?
Yeah, because it's also a dimension. So they
Okay.
sit kind of between on
So I was going to say, like,
between these two.
I feel like the person in my life that I think might have NPD, I feel like would sit between that scale. But my friend's soon-to-be ex-husband, he actually was diagnosed with NPD, and I feel like
Right.
he has both ends of the spectrum.
It can also be situational. So the narcissism can manifest differently depending on context, right?
Okay.
So I like to think about, this difference between overt and covert narcissism kind of like a fruit. So it's like you have a seed and then you have a shell that's around it, right? So for an overt narcissist, they have a very shame-filled center. But that center is protected by a mask of grandiosity that protects them from confronting their shame.
Like an insecurity kind of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For
Okay.
a covert narcissist, it's actually the other way around. And so you'll have a grandiose kind of core at their personality center that's masked by insecurity and hypersensitivity.
Yeah.
So they'll need constant reassurance
Yes.
and all that sort of stuff. But within, they actually have fantasies of grandeur. Right. So that's the kind of really interesting switch between the two broad categories.
Yeah, because I feel like the person I have experienced narcissistic traits with, I feel like is a very insecure person and like constantly looks for external
Validation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so people often throw the word narcissist around, but is it a genuine diagnosis where people are born with it, or is it adaptive? Like they've, are they born with it as in it's hereditary, or are they born neurotypical and then over time become a narcissist?
Yeah, I think from my experience, people with narcissistic tendencies are more likely to be created. It's more a degree of nurture, not nature.
Right.
I think always when it comes to the fit, I talk a lot about temperamental fit. So it's like that children and parents have different personalities, right? Okay. And sometimes a lot of the issues that we experience as we grow up can develop from a misfit in terms of a parent and a child not quite seeing eye to eye in things or not having similar personalities.
Yeah.
And so there is always an element at which temperament is at play, but I think what we see in the research and the literature around narcissism is that it's mainly developmental. Mm-hmm. So there's two kind of main components in upbringing that can contribute to narcissistic tendencies. The first is what we call cold rejection. And so it is on the parent's part an unwillingness or an inability to value the child and see them as a whole and love them as they are, right? So there's two things that we see as major contributors to children developing narcissistic tendencies. The first is a cold rejection of the child and their sense of self as a whole. Mm-hmm. So they may not be recognized, they may not be loved for who they are.
Yes.
They don't experience that kind of warmth and care that we all as children need, right, to develop a strong sense of self. Mm-hmm. The flip side of that is that they become overvalued for some kind of performative capacity or, ability.
Like trying to be elite in sport, or do you mean like class clown, like muck up in class?
It can be any of those particular things.
Yeah.
What the child learns is that if I perform, if I showcase my ability in one particular sphere, that's where I get praise and admiration from.
Yeah.
So a classic example is that like you have a kid who's at home, doesn't get any attention from their parents. Sometimes it's even not necessarily the parents' fault. You could have a mother who's got postnatal depression. You could have, mental health issues, substance abuse, right? Anything that stops the child feeling really connected and attended to in the way that children need. And it's a combination of that but when this kid goes and they play football on the weekend,
Yeah.
that's where the parent is fully present. They're on the sideline, they're cheering, they're filming, they're being like, oh my God, like, great job, right? And so you have this contrast for the child between that cold rejection and then the overvaluation of not the child as a whole, but specific abilities and specific performance.
So
And
there's a difference between showing up at home and showing up at extracurriculum.
yeah. But that can happen in everyday life. So
Yeah.
you might have a kid who is not getting any attention for anything, but man, when they're really good at maths,
Yeah.
they get so much praise. They win
Right.
awards, right? And so they learn to channel all their energy into getting this external validation,
Yeah.
which they're not getting from their primary caregivers in the way that they should.
Okay. Like, I understand it from a relationship point of view, like in that sense, but when it's a parent, like, what are they getting out of it? Do you know what I mean?
Well, very simply, the child becomes an extension of themselves. So the child gets used as narcissistic supply for the parent.
But what is the gain of that?
For example, like, you know, you were a dancer when you were younger, right? My ex was a dancer too. And one of the most horrifying things I always witnessed was dance mums who were outliving their own fantasy, which they maybe didn't fulfill when
Right.
they were young, through this child, right? So the child, one of the things that narcissists lack is a sense of empathy
Okay.
and
yeah.
a sense of self-other boundary, right?
Yeah.
So as we get older, one of the things that we learn is that other people are different to me. When you're a child, you don't feel bad when you ask for something. You don't worry about something being really inconvenient. You're just hungry, right? And the parent meets your need.
Yeah.
Most of us, we grow out of that as we get older because we're taught, hey, like, you can't just go and hit someone because think about how you would feel if someone hit you, right? We
Yes.
learn empathy. Narcissists lack empathy. And so that allows them, so that the kind of like the handbrake that we have as people who develop empathy that stops us from doing things to other people, they lack. So the handbrake's not there. So they're just happy to go.
Right. Is it like a
Ahead with it.
dopamine hit like ADHD or totally different?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
Okay.
The neurobiology, that's outside my expertise.
Yeah. You mentioned before we started filming that narcissists, they always have like a new best friend and they can't maintain friendships because we have a mutual narcissist. We don't hate them.
No.
We like them.
Yeah.
But it is noticeable that they do commonly switch out
Yeah.
besties of the month.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because again, going back to the point about narcissists using people as narcissistic supply, right? Other people and around and about them serve a function to meet some
Did you
sort of
say
need.
supply?
Yeah.
Can we just side note explain what supply is?
So narcissistic supply is what narcissists desire to feed their sense of grandiosity.
It's a person.
Yeah.
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 Because in my experience with like seeing NPD, like I learn a lot from my friend Shanice. I think her Instagram is how to actually heal after NPD abuse.
Oh, wow.
And she does podcasts, so plug her. She does talk about supply in terms of relationships. Like once you leave a narcissist, they usually have a new supply quite quickly.
Yeah. Because it has to be constant, right? Because the
Right.
grandiosity must be fed.
I always wondered that. Like, why are they always in back-to-back
It's
relationships?
it's like a black hole. It's like trying to fill a black hole, right? It's infinite. It's impossible to fill, but they're going to keep trying to do it.
Right.
And they require people to do that. So you have environments where there's not necessarily a huge amount of what we call heredity or like, you know, heredity and narcissism.
Yeah.
But you will see narcissistic parents who use their children as narcissistic supply, who create narcissists, who then go on to also become narcissists in their own relationships.
Yeah, I find a lot of narcissistic parents aren't very maternal.
Yeah, because they don't have as much empathy.
Oh,
So it's very hard to be.
duh.
It's
Yeah,
very hard to be
okay.
maternal if you don't have
Oh my
empathy,
God, the math
right?
is mathing.
The math is mathing, yeah. And so one of the things that, you know, talking about narcissistic supply, if you end a relationship with a narcissist, they're going to very quickly find a new source of narcissistic supply.
Yes.
Because you used to meet a need prior to this,
Yes.
right? That's no longer being met.
Yeah.
And they cannot live in a world where that need is not being met because that threatens their sense of self. So then they're going to replace you really quickly.
Should we go through the narcissistic cycles?
Yeah.
It's
So this
actually-
is what we call the narcissistic cycle. It happens in relationships if you're with a narcissist. It happens in, friendships, right? This is something that repeatedly kind of happens that you might notice.
I only remember hoovering. Let me go back.
So the first stage,
Oh.
is what we call idealization.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Me trying to act professional. You just need to tell me what we're doing because I don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
It's all good. So the first stage is what we call idealization, right? When you first encounter a narcissist, they are going to make you feel like you are the greatst human that
So, like, love
they've ever
bombing.
met. Yes.
Yeah.
Love bombing is definitely a
I
really big
low-key
part
am
of that.
into love bombing a little bit. When I need a little pick-me-up, you know? Only for like a couple
Because,
weeks.
well, I had this conversation with my friend Nat, because when you have a high self-belief, there's a part of you that believes this is how you should be treated.
Yes.
Yeah.
The love bombing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then people like really, well-intentioned, high-functioning humans end up in relationships with narcissists because you're like, oh, this person's finally treating me the way that I've
I need to
always
be
deserved
treated.
to be treated. Yeah. So idealization, you are the greatest thing. They have spent their entire lives looking for you.
Yes, very
right?
familiar with this
You are the apple of their eye. You are perfection in every single
How
way.
long does this last? Like if you're someone in a relationship and you feel like you're being love bombed or the idealization, did I say that right?
Yeah.
How long does it last? If we're being wary,
3 to 6 months.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, no, it can carry on for a while.
Oh gosh.
It also depends how compliant you are as a person. So if you go on with it,
I want to
and you
say
don't,
I'm a baddie, but I'm not. Truly not. I comply.
yeah. So like, the idealization and the love bombing can continue as long as you're. Also, it depends how well you're meeting their needs.
Right. Okay.
If you are doing an excellent job of meeting their needs, then it can continue for a while.
So when does the next step is the next step being negative?
yeah.
Okay.
So then we go from idealization to devaluation.
Okay, that's real turnaround.
Yeah. So the moment you let them down, the moment you disagree with them,
Yes.
the moment you don't perform to the way that they desire you to perform, everything's wrong with you,
Right.
right? And so suddenly you are worthless, you're terrible, like, I can't believe you would do this to me. Look at what I've just done for you, right? Like I've given you everything. Like all I'm asking of you is this one thing. Like how could you not do it after all I've done for you, right?
Yeah.
So there's the devaluation in that. And then as a result of the devaluation, it's really like they make you feel like shit.
Yeah, okay.
They make you feel like shit about yourself.
Yeah.
And it's the contrast between look what I'm providing for you and how I've
Yes.
treated you. And then look what you're
And
doing.
this is where abuse steps in because this sounds like a bit like coercive control,
Yeah.
financial abuse, emotional abuse.
Yeah. Definitely in devaluation. And in the devaluation is a lot of where gaslighting comes in
Right.
as well. And again, here we have another term that's like bandied around a lot in society, right? Gaslighting is the pervasive undermining of your sense of reality. It's not a disagreement in perspectives, right? So you and I, we can talk about a mutual friend of ours and be like, that person said that. And you're like, well, and I'll say, oh, I think it's because of reason A.
Yes.
And you'll say, hey, actually, no, I think it's reason
Yeah,
B,
it's not
right?
like a rebuttal.
That's not gaslighting. We're
Okay.
just choosing to disagree because we have
Yes.
different perspectives on something.
Yeah.
Gaslighting is a pervasive undermining of reality itself,
Okay.
right? It's like, that meme that's been going around that like, I wish, we learned so much in school about sinking sand and it's not really been as much of an issue in my life as I anticipated. I wish they taught us to like do our tax.
Yeah.
Gaslighting is like living on shifting sand.
Okay.
The foundation of your life and your relationship and your reality is constantly shifting.
Yeah, I think someone is like with the ADHD, I really struggle with gaslighting because like my brain just really can't come to terms that person knows what they're doing. And I'm like, I just don't understand why you're saying this when it's blue, it's not green. And we
Yeah.
both know it's blue, so why are you saying it's green? And like
Yeah.
it actually really upsets me and can make me feel really agitated, and I don't know how to diffuse the conversation. Like, I will literally be like, bah!
Well, yeah, because it is, your reality is being tested, right?
Yeah.
Like with ADHD, you're trying to hold, it's already difficult. It's mentally taxing for you to hold a consistent line of conversation, a consistent line of
Yes.
thinking. And so when then someone comes and goes, oh, that thing you're trying to hold on to, that's not even how it is,
Yeah.
right? The sky's purple, it's not
Yeah.
blue. What do you mean? Like, what's wrong?
Is
Like,
gaslighting
what's wrong with you?
deflecting?
I think it can be used as a form of deflection.
Okay.
It's a form of like, one of the things about gaslighting is, say you saw a narcissist do something that you didn't like, right? You were on a date, you were at a restaurant, you went to the bathroom, you came back, and you catch the end of him yelling at one of the service staff or the waiters or
Yes.
something.
Which we
and
hate.
and you sit down and you're like, hey, I didn't like that. That was
Yes.
ugly. Like, what's going on here, right? Oh, you didn't see anything. No, I was just laughing with her. And she was just trying to give me her number. Right? So it built, but it's not just, so that's the start of the gaslighting. That's the altering the reality.
Yeah.
The second part of gaslighting is it becomes something wrong with you. Why are you so jealous?
Yes. But is that part of triangulation, how they use like someone, an outsider, to make you jealous so that they reel you in to make you want them more?
Yeah, that can
Yeah.
be used as part
Because
of the
I know
tactic
like
of triangulation,
triangulation
as well. Yeah.
is big in narcissists.
Yeah, it's the use of other people and the recruitment of other people to become part of
Is that
this
another reason
scheme.
why they have new supply so quickly in terms of relationships? Obviously not really family.
Yeah, because you can be used, because they need to recruit people for something like this as well. And often, in over long periods of time, I think a lot of people, particularly people who are empathetic, can see what's going on and will distance themselves from a narcissist, right?
Yeah.
So then you've got to find new people to fill the gap. I had a friend who works in our industry as well, and he would fairly notoriously lie about projects that he'd been involved in his career, but he would pull me into it.
Right.
So we'd be in a conversation with industry insiders, and he'd be like, oh, Wes, like, you remember when we used to shoot for Victoria's Secret in New York? Like, you remember that show with Adriana Lima? And I was like,
Makes you feel like you got memory loss.
yeah, I wasn't, dude, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But implicit within that is that challenge of being like, are you going to disagree with me
Yeah.
in front of all of these other people?
Yeah.
Right? So that's a great example of triangulation. But back to the replacing of the relationships for a second.
Do you feel like it's genuine relationships when they're replacing?
No,
Okay.
because they will replace the relationship when that person who's narcissistic supply, when they will replace that relationship when that person who is narcissistic supply refuses to continue playing the game, right? Or when that person doesn't perform the task as well as they're required.
Yeah.
Maybe you weren't convincing enough in the lie, right? Maybe you weren't willing to step up for them when they needed you to step up for them,
Yes.
or serve them when they were required to be served. So then you get replaced, and you get replaced with a new person, and the cycle continues and continues and continues. So one of the things I always say, when people are like, oh, they're dating someone new, and you meet them, and it's like, have you met any long-term friends of that particular person? They're like, no, everyone in this relationship's new.
What comes after devaluation in the cycle?
Then it's what we call discard or withdrawal.
Okay.
So if you're in a romantic relationship with this person, they'll pull back,
Right.
right? And immediately, as an empathic person, you want to come forward, right? If someone's pulling back from you, you immediately kind of want to reach out. And
Anxious attachment sets in.
Exactly. This is often narcissists end up in relationships with anxious or preoccupied or
Love that for me.
Yeah, insecure attachment styles, and because they're avoidant.
Yes.
Right?
Can I
A
just
lot of them are
quickly
avoidant.
ask,
Yeah.
that's what I was going to say. Do you think a dismissive avoidant can be a narcissist?
I think you would see quite a lot of comorbidity between those two things, yes.
Right, because
Yes.
like my situation with a dismissive avoidant, I don't feel like they are a narcissist at all. I think this person is great on the inside and out, excluding their dismissive avoidant attachment style. But if I wrote it down on paper, I would be like, oh wow, there's a lot of crossover with the DA to narcissism. So would that person be a narcissist, or they just unfortunately by nature have narcissistic tendencies?
Well, what you're saying to me is that they don't necessarily have narcissistic tendencies. It sounds like that's what you're saying to me.
But they're still a dismissive avoidant.
Yeah, they can be separate things, for sure.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to clear the air on that one.
This is not related to this person, but I remember talking to my supervisor at the time who taught me a lot of this. I was like, every psychology student, when you're learning things, you diagnose everyone in your life, right?
Yes.
And I was like, so do you think like this person, like this is about them, they fit the narcissistic profile? And she just looked at me and said, Wes, sometimes assholes are just assholes.
Okay.
They don't need to have a pathology.
Yes. Fair enough. Well, that's what
they're
I'm
not
trying
necessarily,
to think with, like, my abuser.
yeah.
I don't know. Like, they never had a diagnosis. So I'm like, I just don't know if they... Because I don't want to have empathy for this person. But I do sometimes, like, in the healing process, you want to have sort of, like, some sort of closure of, like, why they operate the way they do. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, maybe they are just a fucking loser.
Yeah, you try and make sense of things. And the challenge in a relationship with a narcissist, especially in an environment of gaslighting, is the fact that they don't connect dots in the same way that we connect dots.
Yes.
Often. And so we'll try and understand, because fundamentally, in the process of trying to understand a human, we use our empathy.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with someone who is part of what we call the dark triad of personality, narcissists, psychopaths, Machiavellians, fundamental to their personality type is a lack of empathy. And so trying to understand them is very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Particularly when they love to target people who are high in empathy because they find them easier to manipulate.
When my abuser, when I felt like they had lack of empathy, I really encouraged them to go to therapy. And they turned around and came back and said, well, my therapist said you're a narcissist. So here's me thinking like, oh my God, I've just been diagnosed with narcissism. I'm the problem. Can a therapist diagnose someone else with NPD without actually having them in the room? But I thought that was only a psychiatrist who could diagnose.
I mean, look, we all do a degree of diagnosis. I personally would be very hesitant to do that without them being in a room. Because you have to understand, as a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, when you are hearing about a person, you are hearing about them through the lens of another person's worldview.
Yes.
And so you have to be aware that like that's not the completeness of the person,
Yeah.
right? I would love to like bring into the room every person that a client has spoken to me
Oh,
about.
I'd be the worst. I'd be like, show me a photo. Show me what they look like right now.
So yeah, I would be very hesitant. You can say that, that's interesting that person, there are patterns of behavior
Yes.
that group together.
I think this was like
and
after
that-
1 or 2 sessions. Just
and that
FYI.
co-occur together quite often. And so from a therapeutic perspective, I can sit there and be like, I think this is what's going on, right? I have a hypothesis.
Yes.
As therapists and any kind of scientist, you're always working with a working hypothesis. So I have a suspicion that this is what's going on. But also I have to always bear in mind that I'm getting a filtered perspective of this individual.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's like one of the hardest thing about like healing from abuse is knowing that the people around them only get their lens and only get their narrative, never
Yeah.
really the facts and like what's written down and what's in police reports,
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. It's hard feeling like you're not believed, and it feels like a sense of gaslighting.
Yeah.
In a way, but also at the end of the day, it could be just an ego thing. Like, why does it matter if these people think this about me? You know what I mean? Like, I actually am like, I know it sounds a bit sicko mode, but I'm kind of happy that I've gone through what I have, because it's given me space to do a lot of like reflection and shadow work. So like when I do have a thought like that, I'm like, okay, what am I truly feeling for me to feel that way? Like, why am I bothered that someone feels like that? And then I can go back and be like, okay, I need to work on this still, or, so I'm like, emotional growth be happening,
It is, because one of the main currencies of a narcissist is others' perception of you. right? Because they're preoccupied with what other people think.
Yes.
I remember being in a situation about a decade ago where I found out that my best friend had been controlling the food intake of his partner at the time.
Whoa. What does what kind of abuse is that? Coercive control?
Yeah, form of coercive control, because I realized he was a narcissist during the season.
Yeah.
Because he was so preoccupied with how her body was reflective of him, right? He wanted a hot, skinny girlfriend.
Yeah. I've been told I've had a flat bum before, don't you worry.
Yeah, like he wanted a hot, skinny girlfriend, not for her health or her well-being.
Yeah.
But because her appearance was reflective of him.
Yeah.
Right? And then here's me studying narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism at uni, being like, hold on a second, like this is happening in my own life.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, what do you do if you are picking up that your friend is giving off narcissistic traits and potentially abusing a friend or a loved one?
It can be really difficult.
Do you intervene?
I have in the past. Yeah, in multiple occasions. Yeah.
But like in general, would you encourage people to intervene, or?
It really depends. There's a lot of variables involved in that. And the key variable for me is the safety of the victim involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people go into, when they see something or they suspect something, they go into rapidly out of a desire to alleviate their own kind of sense of guilt, or we feel bad that someone is in this situation and we want to intervene because we empathically want to help. But you have to be very careful that, first of all, that person wants you to intervene first.
Yeah.
And secondly, that you're not compromising the safety of the individual involved.
Because that's how this all evolved, is because our mutual intervened on the other spectrum, like they were assisting the abuser. And to me, I'm just like, at first I was like, oh, maybe it's innocence, maybe they were trying to intervene with positivity, but really, like, when you look at it flat blank, it's just fueling the abuser to go against the victim. So it's like, where do you draw the line of like, am I making this worse? Am I, where do you draw the line? Do you just pull back? Interesting.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I will say, I've had the privilege of intervening in quite a few situations.
The privilege, I love that.
It is a privilege.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like anytime we as humans get to stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves.
Yeah.
It's an honor and a privilege.
That's how I feel right now. Like I feel like using my platform to like show other victims like how to leave their abuser or narcissist. I feel like it is a privilege to help others. Like I'm lucky that I have a platform. I'm lucky that I live in Sydney. Like I just happened to grow up here. I wasn't born in a third world country and I'm having to flee to make a better life. Like I have a platform where I'm like, okay, I had access to these resources. Like I want you guys to know about them too. It is a privilege. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Is there a fourth stage, or at discard that's it?
Yeah, so after discarding withdrawal, what happens is often the victim will want to make things right again, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like I'm sorry I've let you down. Like how can I make it up to you? What can I do, right? And we get kind of deeper into this relationship where now you're back in that role of like performing, because they can now be like, right, well, this is what I need. Like I told you, why don't you just do it, right? And you're willing to be. It creates compliance. This kind of like,
and it like sets off the anxious attachment.
Yeah, this combination of like devaluing you and putting you down, then making you feel like something's wrong with you, and then saying that you're so broken, like maybe I don't even want to be with you, and then you immediately try to prove yourself, and perform better for them and meet their needs better, right? We have this. From an anxious attachment perspective, there is this fantasy that survivors of narcissistic relationships have, that if I can be better, if I can do better, if I can do more, then they won't be upset with me. But it's the same as trying to fill a black hole. Like that's impossible. Perfection, the level of perfection.
Wait, what was this stage called again?
We're still on discard and withdrawal, sorry. And so you feel the need to perform. You feel the need that, if I was just better, right? If I can learn more, if I can perform more, if I can do more, I can meet their needs better, then they won't be disappointed at me. Then they won't try and leave me. Then they won't tear my life apart.
Yeah.
Right? But that's a fantasy. That's not true.
Yeah.
So then we get to the last component, which is hoovering,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. It's where they just bring you back in, dope.
Yeah.
And then the
They
cycle
suck you
starts
back
again.
into this system again. Because if you are then doing what they want you to do,
Yeah.
then you can be praised again. Then you can be
Yes.
idealized again.
Yes.
Then they can lift you, and you're like, oh, great. Like, everything's great now. Everything's fine with me. And we start this cycle all over
How
again.
long is a cycle? Like, is it a week-to-week basis? Is it month-to-month? Like,
It's
I
very
felt
hard to say.
I felt like in my situation, it was like every few days, like 4 days on, 4 days off. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Like,
That's
quick
exhausting.
turnaround.
That's exhausting.
Quick turnaround.
Yeah.
But for an anxious attachment, and also just want to take side note is like your attachment style is not permanent. It's something that you can work on. Like, you can be an avoidant and then turn into secure. You can be anxious and then turn secure. However, as an anxious attachment, like, it's almost like discipline to cut the cycle. Like, it's literally like,
because
it's the
you're
only
used to
way.
the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right. When you have a history of volatile relationships, it feels normal to you.
yeah.
So often a secure, healthy relationship feels crazy. You're like, something must be wrong.
Yes.
Like, where is it? Like, you feel like you're going to be blindsided.
Yeah.
Because you're so used to chaos that safety feels really boring.
My girlfriend, literally, who is a psychologist, she said to me, your next relationship is going to feel really boring. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I experienced that. I'm like, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going through his following. I'm like, okay, so what have you liked? Oh, you haven't liked anything. Okay, so I'm like looking for things wrong. Like, I'm sabotaging because
Yeah.
I'm so used to
Yeah.
the destructiveness. And I do think, let's say offspring of a narcissist may be attracted to narcissists because that's their condition of love.
Yep. Yep.
What's on? Well, we have spoken a lot about relationships. We have another listener question that I am like, I feel like you will be able to better digest this, but how do therapists address themes of revenge in narcissistic clients? So how I read that, I was like, okay, so if a narcissist goes in to see their therapist or psychologist and they say, oh, this has happened, and like, so moving forward, I'm going to do this. If you pick up that client is being a narcissist and like plotting or whatever you want to call it, how do you intervene? Or do you not?
There is, so as, therapists, psychologists have a code of conduct that we have to adhere to.
Yeah.
And part of that, and something that if you're starting therapy, for example, you'll be informed about, is that if at any time you say something that is imminent risk to you as a person,
What
yourself,
does imminent risk mean?
that you can possibly harm
Okay.
yourself, or
Physically, emotionally?
well, that's the question. I think the focus is mainly physical, which is a problem and something that can be discussed. But if there is a risk of harm to yourself, family members, or the broader community, that you have an obligation as a mental health professional to report that behavior to the relevant authorities.
Okay.
So there is a mandatory support system that's built into therapy, so that
Yes.
if I have a client potentially who is narcissistic, who says, I'm about to leave here and kill my partner, I have to do something about it.
Yeah, you got to call the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But what constitutes imminent risk is a bit of a grey area. So as you said, right, I think, at least when I was trained, the focus is very much on physical. So it's,
Physical.
it's this idea like, okay, if your client says that, hey, I'm going to commit suicide,
Yeah.
I'm going to, and they can explain to you how they've already envisioned doing it.
Right.
That's when you call a hospital and you get an ambulance in and you send them to a psychiatric unit because
Yes.
they are at imminent risk. So that's the first thing I think that people should be aware of when it comes to potentially your abuser being in therapy and fear around that.
Mm.
Secondly, I would say the vast majority of mental health professionals I know are pretty good at spotting what's really going on.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of professionals can see through it.
But some narcissists, if they're really good at it, they can play you as well.
Yeah.
Narcissists and psychopaths in particular, when they are really high in those traits,
Yeah.
they are very, very skilled.
Yes.
There's this famous story of one of the biggest narcissism researchers back in the day, in I think like the 40s or the 50s. He used to run a clinic, like a hospital for narcissists, where they would come and get treatment.
Oh my gosh.
And his staff knew they had a really good narcissist on their hands when after a session he would come out and be like, hey, cancel all the rest of my appointments for the day. I'm taking this patient out. Like, I'm going to take them to get their laundry. I'm going to drive them around to do it. And they're like, dude, you're the world's foremost expert on narcissists. Like, why are you getting played by this guy, right? But that's how good they are. Like, they're very good at finding whatever our weaknesses are.
Yes.
And exploiting that weakness to get what they want. So all mental health professionals, we're imperfect. We're all humans at the end of the day. We all have
Yes.
our own weaknesses too.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of have an instinct
Yeah.
that something's not quite right. And it's this feeling, right? I say this to people when they're dating potential and they're worried about dating potential narcissists.
Yeah.
Listen to your intuition.
Yeah.
You might not mentally understand that, oh, this XYZ all leads to narcissism, right? But there's something that doesn't feel right. Everything looks right. Everything sounds right. Everything seems a little too good to be true. But you have this nagging thing in the back of your head or in your body. Often you feel in your body as well. Like, someone can be saying something to me that seems really nice and like seems really real, but something about it makes like the hair on the back of my neck stand. Those are the moments where I'm like, oh, something's not right here, and I need to be really careful with how we move from here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Going back to you saying that you guys are trained to make sure they don't harm anyone physically, I think that's like the biggest issue that we are having in my community is a lot of people don't know that they are in abusive situations because they're so heavy on physical abuse, and we just totally skim over the emotional, financial, coercive control, sexual abuse, etc., that people are finding it hard to identify that they're even in a harmful situation. Do you think practices have changed now? Like, have you heard that they're changing identifying abuse?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more awareness around the detrimental impact of coercive control.
Okay.
But the challenge is that narcissists and abusers and psychopaths, they're masterful manipulators, right? And the challenge that we face in supporting survivors is really ensuring that these masterful manipulators don't manipulate the system. Because for survivors, there are so many systemic level challenges.
Yeah.
You talked about, not being able to tell your story, right? There was this whole issue in Victoria recently about not being able to name, like, victims and survivors were not allowed to name their perpetrators.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's
and
a
that
legal
whole fight
thing.
around that. There is a lot in place in the system, and I know incredible people are working to change that effectively silence survivors from telling their story in a lot of different ways.
I agree.
And that's something we need to work on, because for survivors to continue to be in an environment that is disempowering when they've been in relationships that are abusive and disempowering and controlling, and to now be dealing with a system where they similarly feel disempowered and controlled is re-traumatizing.
I do think I'm saying a bit of a fuck you to the system, because I'm not telling my story, but I am trying to help other victims, and I'm still being scrutinized by, obviously I'm really lucky. I have a great support network of, a legal team, my family, my friends, professionals, like cool people are friends with cool people. Like, I have so many, like, psychologists, lawyers, even people in the police force that I no, just more than acquaintances. So I feel very supported, but I just feel like we still are in a very broken system. Now, moving aside, I just want to quickly ask one more thing.
Yeah.
A couple episodes ago, I said, I think it was in Imogen's episode, I said that I felt like everyone that makes upwards of $10 million is a narcissist. So is there a
Wow.
correlation with wealth to narcissism, or it just happens they just have a different ego, different realm of living?
I think... How
What
am
are
I
you
gonna-
allowed to say?
Oh, what am I allowed to say? What am I going to... I think in Western individualistic society, there is a correlation between like narcissism and success.
Mm-hmm.
I think we live in an economic system that rewards people who are grandiose, who are willing to make claims, who are willing to do what they need to do to climb a corporate ladder to reach some level of externally socially validated sense of success.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, in the United States, they voted a grandiose narcissist
I
as
was
their
literally
president.
about to ask, like, are you describing
So,
Trump right now?
Yeah, they literally made him the president of their country. So that is a real challenge. You
Yeah.
know, many years ago, I worked on a piece of research that, for various political reasons, never got published, where we studied levels of the dark triad, so narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, in prison populations, as well as high-level corporates. So we're talking politicians, business people, finance.
So criminals versus white collar.
Yeah, finance bros, lawyers, etc. Our finding was that at a statistical level, the levels of dark triad we found in both the prison population and the professional population were essentially equivalent. And so our conclusion that we drew from that piece of research was that it's not that people who have done illegal things have different levels of dark triad relative to the rest of the population. It's that potentially the professional population has actually found more socially acceptable ways of channeling those desires and meeting their needs.
Do you think in Western culture we're more likely to have narcissism than, say, Asian culture?
Yeah, I think narcissism is definitely rewarded in an individualistic culture more so than in a collectivist culture.
Yeah.
I think in Asian cultures where it's, you know, very communal, it's all about
Yeah,
family.
I feel like so much more humble.
You know, yeah, we have our own challenges, but I think we definitely cross-culturally see lower rates of narcissism in those countries. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Well, anyway. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Wesley Tan, for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
This has
Side
been
note,
delightful.
Wes is just like a unicorn. You do like commercial shooting as well, creative directing, the lot.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming in and helping us out on Lesson of the Week.
My pleasure.
Most in-depth lesson of the week that we've ever done.
Yeah, thanks for doing what you do as well. And what you're doing is really, really valuable.
Oh,
and
thank
really,
you.
I know it's not been easy, but it's something that really needs to be done.
Yeah.
And thank you for shining a spotlight on an issue that we need to have more conversation about.
Thank you. I feel like I can handle it. You know,
Yeah.
handle the heat.
Yeah.
I got it. I don't mind getting a smack bottom here and there. For the good. Smack bottom for the good.
Weed kink, but okay.
We're actually going to skip Mother Knows Best because we had a lot of the listener questions in our last segment. So let's go on to listener rogue moments. Now I'm actually going to bombard this one and make it my own moment because we just, all the listener stuff ended up being in Lesson of the Week. So my rogue moment would be, I've got a job, Scary Smash, because I got a text from him. Now this is too rogue for me. Like this is almost an Imphy moment. So we had plans on the Sunday and I just didn't text him all day because I couldn't be bothered. I didn't want to hang out with him. I was pooped from our Wednesday event. It was Sunday, but I was still pooped from Wednesday. And also shameful of myself that I didn't go to bed until 12:30. That's very late for me. I decided to just let him text me in the evening. He said, I'm sorry, I'm actually not going to get home till late, blah, blah, blah. But to start the conversation, he said, hey, girl. That doesn't really turn me on at all. So I'm just going to ignore that. I'm not going to judge someone for saying, hey, girl, with 3 Y's and a couple of R's in the hey, girl. If you were my girlfriend or like very platonic friend who does not see my flaps, I'd be okay with you saying, hey, girl, but not in this instance. So I choose to see past it. And I said, let's just reschedule another time. And then the next day, he texts me saying, what's good in the hood? Do you want to come over, cuddle and squirt? And I was like, I don't like that. I do not like that. I'm past my ovulation stage. I don't like that message at all. So I just lied and I said, I'm on mum duties, sorry. And you know what he replied?
Nothing.
Damn girl.
Oh.
So I think it's not really much of a rogue moment, but I didn't like it.
Weird kink.
We might need to take him off the roster.
Yeah,
Anyway.
but according to you, you don't have a roster anymore. You're on your way to the bloody chapel.
That's actually exactly what's going to happen. If any celebrants? Yeah, if any celebrants go to CMC Rocks, March 2026, just outside Ipswich, I'm happy for you to marry us.
Get fucked.
It'll be nice team bonding. We'll all be there together, pending Kel's recovery.
Ailments.
After a knee surgery, shoulder surgery, have some nice bonding. You guys could be our witnesses. Therefore, I would get married before you.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, I just want to also, forgot to say, so throwback to Sue's episode. People are still listening to Sue's episode, by the way. I checked the stats the other day and the rates for Clairvoyant Sue episode. People are still actively watching it. Love that. I have something to add to that. So in Jock's reading in Sue's episode, she said that she sees him and Kel getting married overseas. And at the time we were like, hard no, because they are getting married here. But what are you going to do now, Jock?
No, we're always going to do something overseas, and it's still being decided. Like, it's over a year away yet.
Anyway, so good for Sue, because she's always bloody bang on. Anyway, on that note, thanks for listening to another episode of A Bit Rogue. Can you please leave a review, 5-star review, because they're going down. The haters came on after the Osher episode, and now they're going down. Can you please leave a 5-star review, especially on Spotify? Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to A Bit Rogue, where we uncover the stories of athletes, artists, and celebrities with their most rogue moments. Episodes dropping every Wednesday.